All right, let's talk a little bit about heart disease and ultimately, um, you know, who needs to be concerned and, what are your options? And ultimately, when it comes from a healthcare perspective, and then also thinking about, you know, ultimately, how do you get the best care possible and avoid sort of some of the insurance nightmares that many people do. I think it's very important to sort of know where the risk factors are. There are clearly risk factors for people in their 40s and 50s. But I think what you'll find is that the risk really is rather concentrated around greater than 65, right? So the first thing I want to just chat a little bit about is preventative. So, in today's world, um, it used to be that, you might go in for a stress test or something of that nature. But in today's world, there is a CT scan that's very commonly done on your lungs and your heart. I had it done maybe a couple years ago, and I get rechecked every couple of years because of some findings there. But it literally cost me $95 to get this scan, and it literally will tell you exactly whether or not you have any blockage at all, to what degree that blockage exists, and where you need to have, you need to be thinking about, different protocols, whether or not you're gonna, take some medicine, whether or not you're actually going to need a procedure, but I highly recommend that you do that procedure and you kind of look into that. Most states have a offer this. I mean, it's very common now. It used to be maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, something that wasn't as common, but highly recommend. So preventative care obviously is your number one way to not die if you have this. My mother has a blockage that is referred to kind of colloquially as the widowmaker. Many of her brothers and sisters have had it, and it has unfortunately taken some lives in our family, right? And so, most of the people that have been affected by it were surprised by it, but you don't have to be, right? There's preventative options. So then, what I wanted to just chat with you about is, okay, so, with healthcare, there can be some issues, right? You look at things like this, and some of those issues are that you can't get the care you need when you need it, right? And so, if you are in kind of a situation after getting scanned, after getting diagnosed, you know, you may find yourself in a situation where, you're trying to get the proper treatment, right? And so, one of the things that you may think about before any of that happens is you may think about whether or not you need to get what's called a critical care insurance, right? Generally, critical care insurance will cover things like stroke and heart disease. And the way they work is is that you don't they don't they're not health insurance. They are event-based insurance policies generally. And so I think you've probably seen maybe an Aflac commercial. They're in this space, and there are many other insurance players that are in this kind of space. But basically, upon diagnosis, some of them pay a lump sum, right? And you get to decide sort of ultimately what that lump sum is, right? And you get to use that money for whatever you need to do to sort of rectify your problem. But it's a cash payment, they don't manage what you do with that cash. It really just says, I've got this diagnosis and there's a lump sum amount. Other policies might work a little bit more like hospitalization, where, based on certain triggers, certain kinds of diagnoses, certain kinds of events that have occurred, you could get some different payments. And so, I would look out. I'm going to do a little bit more of a deeper dive on critical care insurance, and some of the providers and some of the states where I deal with insurance. You'll see some more on that. But I raise this because, I am a believer that I don't want, I want to be able to get the care I want when I want it and where I want it, right? And so, as a byproduct of that, and I want to not create a financial stress on my family. And then as you get older, you might find that, that some of the procedures might be more expensive, and so the extra cash is very useful, right? And so just be aware of that. It is called critical care insurance, and I kind of explore that a little bit. If in fact you have a family history, because there is a great deal of correlation between people, between generation to generation, particularly when it comes to heart disease, and in the world of heart attacks and strokes.